Hello, patrons and latecomers. I will be reviewing some whiskey for you. But the point of this is really to talk more broadly about the K-shaped economy and the effect that that is going to have on your liquor store. So let's start with that while I pour. The first time I heard the phrase K-shaped economy was from Michael Hudson, who was a character. Michael Hudson, he could really use an editor, a better editor. I certainly don't agree with him on a lot of things. We could have that discussion. We could start with the biblical interpretation, with certain geopolitics. But, I'm like, look at all the Heidegger up there. I am used to reading people and learning from people that I frequently disagree with. But Michael Hudson it really, really, really deeply understands in the sense of like, he sends it out like a bloodhound. He gets the opposition between the economics of production, of the creation of new wealth, as opposed to rent extraction, making money through debt, through asset ownership, through monopoly. And anything you want to read of his, start anywhere, because it's all the same stuff. It all says the same thing. And basically, when he uses the term K-shape, particularly when he talks about the recovery from the 2000 recession and the way that functioned, it's in that opposition. You have got the rent extraction side of the economy, so real estate, finance, insurance, tech to some extent, doing really, really well. And then you got the kind of production side of the economy, everyone else kind of stagnating or doing increasingly worse. And that is the first time I've heard that term. Since the pandemic, that term has really taken on a life of its own and kind of taken on a broader meaning, basically like the tracking the destinies and the fortunes of the very, very, very high earners versus everyone else. So you kind of lose that kind of deeper analysis of the economic functions of why this is happening. I think these can both be true. I think the second sense of the K-shape is probably being caused by the first, but whatever you want to think, this is something that's happening, and it is having enormous effects on consumer spending. The big number that everyone appreciated last year was that the top 20% of income earners in the U.S. currently account for over 60% of all consumer spending. That was like mid-2025, and I'm guessing things are worse now, and I'm guessing things are particularly worse when we're talking exclusively about consumer discretionary, which is your liquor store. So basically, the very, 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 very rich and the people adjacent to the very, very, very rich, the top 20%, they're doing okay. They're willing to go out and spend their money on consumery stuff, on a few nice bottles of things. Everyone else is struggling to get by and fearful of going out to burn money on stuff they may not necessarily need. So you've got 20% well, we can debate about the numbers, but a small portion of the population holding up that side of the economy, consumer discretionary. And that, in turn, is having some very interesting side effects that we are going to keep seeing, I believe, over the foreseeable future. And I want to talk about them, and then I'm going to review these. So what happens when it's only like a handful of, upper middle class and rich people who are spending money on your consumer stuff? What are the effects of that? First effect, there's a race-up market. If normal folks are not buying booze, the only place you can make money is at the top end of the market. So everyone's going to be making more and more special mega limited releases, more and more super ultra premium bottlings and stuff, and trying to chase those people who are still spending money. And that accounts for a lot of what you have been seeing over the last couple of years. Because it's not to say that that's going to succeed, but that's where the chance of success is there. However, think through this. Not everything that tries to do that can kind of try to move up market, is going to actually succeed. Things will... One of my favorite images, back when I was still studying religion, one of my favorite images from Vedic religion, ancient Vedic religion, was the image of the souls, the life forces, up in their pure, non-corrupted heavens, enjoying themselves, and then something happens and they just literally fall out of the sky into embodiment, and all of that stuff. And that's essentially what's going to happen to a lot of these brands that have tried to move up market, that have tried to make their money not by selling a lot of stuff to a lot of people and making a little teeny tiny margin, but by selling a few things to a few people and making a big margin, is that they will just not sell. They will sit on the shelves of the store, and they will sit in the warehouses of the distributors, and they will just not go anywhere. And what happens then? Eventually, you're going to get a crash. And we should talk about crashes before we get to effect number 3 and the Shibuis here. How do crashes work? What is a crash? When you turn on the news with a crash and you hear that $6 cajillion of value was wiped out, that money didn't go anywhere. There was just a revaluation. It turned out all the stuff you were talking about was worth way less money than you thought it was. So, simple example. Think of a hat shop, right? Let's say there's a hat shop, and suddenly people come in. They start demanding fedoras. Let's go like Darby's. Is it Derby? Darby, whatever. Darby's. People start buying Darby's. There's a craze for Darby's. And you sell them for, I don't know, $100 a pop on average. There's some super premium Darby's. There's some moderately priced Darby's. Anyway, people want more and more of these things. There's lines going out the door for Darby's. The store says, "Damn, we gotta stock up on these things." So they buy, all the Darby's they can get a hold of. They drag them out of their distributors, kicking and screaming, as many Darby's as they can get. They load up, and then people stop buying Darby's. The flood turns into a trickle. You're still selling them, but they're just kind of sitting there. What do you do? Well, normal market logic would be there's less demand, so you reduce the price. The problem is, if you do that, if you reduce kind of the listed public price of your Darby's, you have to write down the value of those Darby's. So let's say you have, math on camera, 10,000 Darby's in stock at 100, and they're supposed to be worth $100 each. You discount them, permanently. You cut them down to by 20%, down to $80. You've just lost $200,000. It's all on paper because all the stuff is still there. You haven't lost any Darby's, but now they're just worth less than you thought they were. You can kind of fiddle around the edges. You can do like little, weekend sales and things, 10% off Darby's here and there. But what you want to do is to keep the list price what it is, because if you write it down, then you have to admit you've lost a ton of money, and that is the game. That is the delicate dance that you have to do as a business in this kind of situation. So that's and eventually when you'd have to bring money in, you do 50% off your Darby's. You take your 5 $500,000 loss. You sell what you can, you get your money in, you pay the bills, you keep the lights on, and it's not going to be a great month or great year, but you struggle through. It gets more interesting when you think about like a whole industry. We're 10 minutes in, I haven't touched the whiskeys yet. I will. We'll get into this. You can skip past this part. I will put a time code down below. When you talk about a whole hat industry, a whole bunch of hat stores, and they're all in the same boat together. They've all loaded up on Darbies, and suddenly the demand is gone. Well, then you got yourself a little bit of like a Mexican standoff, because the first person who kind of publicly admits that the Darbies are not worth the $100 asking price, and I'm keeping it simple. Obviously, there's going to be different prices for different Darbies at different places, but I'm making an illustration here. The first person who blinks and just needs to get money in and does a fire sale, takes the loss. They're going to get the customers first. But then you've started yourself into a death spiral, because if they say, 25% off Darbies, all the other stores look at that and go, crap, they're going to get all the customers. And now like the list price, like the market price for Darbies has just collapsed, and we have to admit it's collapsed. So screw it, we're going to drop our prices too. 35% off Darbies, and then someone else does 40, and then someone else does 50, and then 60, and you've got yourself a death spiral going. And by the end of the day, you're selling your Darbies for pennies on the dollar, and people go out of business. That's an industry crash. Now, when you talk about a total systemic market crash, that's when you can bring in third parties invested in hat stores and the hat industry. You can bring in funds that have this as a large chunk of the investment basis. You can have shadow banks leveraging people up to the gills in order to finance investment in the hat industry and in stuff invested in the hat industry. And you can have people making side bets and all this. Go to Kalshi. You can bet on how the hat industry is going to do. That sort of thing. In that case, you can pull out that hat industry Jenga block, the Darbies, and everything just collapses. But right now we're only talking about the liquor industry. So people want to avoid crashes as long as possible. And so what you're going to see as effect number 3, after the race up market and after stuff falling from the sky, is what I'm going to call crash avoidance behaviors. People need to bring money in, even though they absolutely do not want to admit that all the masses of bourbon they have sitting on their shelves, in the warehouses, in the barrels, is not worth what they are saying it is worth. They still need to bring money in, even though they want to keep that charade up. So how do they do it? Close out shelves. You don't advertise it online. You don't let people get in the know that these things are not worth what you want them to be worth. So you do a closeout sale. People walk in the store and they see huge discount, but it's not advertised online. Targeted sales. Annoying electronic coupons. Mailers sent out to specific people. Like weird bundles, like buy 2, get 4, something like that. Very, very precision targeted sales and stuff. And what I think is the case here, what I'm going to call the quiet closeout. What I am 99% sure happened here is whoever is distributing Shibui did a secret deal in the back room with Binny's, probably without letting anyone else in on it. They went up to Binny's and said, hey, we've got gajillion cases of this. It's just sitting around. It's not selling. And we need to get rid of it. So we will sell it to you for pennies on the dollar. And Binny said, okay. And then, rather than making a big deal out of it, that Shibui is they're going to be doing a fire sale on Shibui, they just put it on the shelf at a regular price, snuck it on the shelf, and made no fuss. If you were not paying attention to the new arrivals page at Binny's, you did not notice these. But I have to imagine that there were a whole lot of store associates talking to people in the whiskey aisle saying, you know what, those are pretty good deals. You should take a look at those. All this stuff, crash avoidance behaviors, you will be seeing more of it in the near future until things change. And they might change very suddenly. I don't know. But in this, you're going to get some deals. If you have the money to spend and you're willing to pay attention and keep track of this stuff, there are going to be some great deals out there. But you're going to have to dig for them. You're going to be paying attention because no one wants to be the first one to openly start fire sailing things because death spiral. So with that, let us get to these two Shibuis here because Binny's just snuck the entire range on the shelf at a cost of between like $20 and $60. All right, what are these? So these are two Japanese, quote unquote Japanese malt whiskeys. And I enjoy a good Japanese malt whiskey. I enjoy my Hakushus. I enjoy my Yuichis. That said, I do not want to pay the prices for those things. I've said before, and I stick to it, the Japanese whiskey section is a tax on people who are scared to explore Scotch, basically. And there's the additional wrinkle that Japanese whiskey, there's no law against you kind of vatting together a whole bunch of world whiskeys and then selling it as a product of Japan, including putting a lot of Japanesey stuff onto it. And I am dead certain that is the case here. I would make the bet, let me put it this way, that there is no more than like a tablespoon of actual Japanese distillate in either of these bottles. And you know what? For the pricing, that's okay. Again, the whole range is on the shelf. There's some grain whiskeys, which are basically aged shochus, I'm guessing. But, these are both malts. And let me tell you the pricing. This was $25. This was $27. And let me tell you how these things are priced at Total Wine at the moment. This Shibui Pure Malt, the 10-year-old, is $149. And this, the lightly peated one, should be $165. Binny is drawing no attention to this, and they have their reasons for doing that. Anyways, let's taste these. Well, let me drink some water first. All right, Shibui, 10-year-old pure malt. We move on to the review section of this video. This is a blended malt, which can include anything they want, as long as it's malt whiskey. And it is aged in ex-bourbon, ex-sherry, and then finished in Japanese Mizunara, and it is bottled at 43%. I think these hit the shelves around 2022 or so. On the nose. Well, the Mizunara that they finished, I'm guessing they just sloshed around the barrel. The Mizunara is not speaking up very much. And that's going to disappoint some people, I'm sure. Not me. I've never really been into the Mizunara thing. All right, what are we getting here? I mean, it smells like a malt whiskey. Let's start with that. There is some orange peel. There's a little bit of lemon pith. It's very citrusy. A couple of rocks. Pebbles. More citrus. Different kinds of orange. There's some bergamot here. Slightly herbaceous. Florals, blossoms in particular. Baked apple, baked pear, mashed up. Touch of nectarine. Vanilla. Black pepper. Black tea. Hard to say what kind of black tea. Vague black tea. Let's go with that. I mean, with the exception of the lack of peat, this is in some ways very blue label-y if I can put it that way. It's that kind of orange and wood and other fruits profile. It's also very Glengoyne-y. Slightly grainy too, some oatmeal in the back. It's fine. It smells like a nice malt. For $25, I am not mad at this nose. On the palate, I'm not mad at this palate for $25. 150 I would be. What are we getting? I mean, really follows for the nose. Citrus driven. I mean, more grainy on the palate, actually. Let's start with that. So there's some oatmeal. There's some hearty multi-grain bread happening. Orange peel again, bergamot. A little bit of like lemon pith. Rocks again. Really kind of Glengoyne-y. Rocks, even a seashell or two. It's not really maritime, but there's just a little kiss in there. I wouldn't be surprised if there was something coastal in this blend, but it's subtle. Vanilla again, black pepper, lots of black pepper. It's quite intensely peppery on the palate. Black tea again. English breakfast tea. Like half a Hershey's Kiss thrown in, a little bit of Hershey's chocolate, and that's it. Nice, perfectly pleasant little malt, and I don't know what else to say about it. I mean, both of these are cheaper than Black Label. What do you want? All right, moving on to this, which I find more interesting because it is higher proof. Shibui pure malt. 10-year-old Nokoribi Kara, lightly peated, 48% alcohol by volume, same kind of mixture of stuff of casks, ex-bourbon, Oloroso sherry, and Japanese Mizunara oak. Let us see what we got here. $27 for 48% and 10 years old. Well, yeah, much more peaty, more maritime. There's some Isla in this. I mean, it could be Talisker or something, but I would guess Isla. Yeah, maritime peat. Clean style of peat. This is not Ardmore. This is seashells and a peat fire on the beach. Beyond that, vanilla. Some fun, yeah, lots of maritime-y stuff, actually. There's some, like, oysters going on. Cooked oysters. Black pepper. Black tea again, but it's like Darjeeling this time. Kind of light nuttiness. What is that? Like a toasted pistachio, but subtle. Orange again. Lemon peel again. Yeah, I mean, if you're telling me I can go to the store to buy Black Label and walk out with this and an extra $3 in my pocket, I'm not mad about that. And some apple. A little bit of like a mashed apple. Graininess? Not really. There's like a little couple of crumbs of multi-grain bread from before in this, but it's really, the peat is much more prominent on the palate. Yeah, if you wanted to There's still some of this still around at the local Binny's. Most of it's been bought up in the city, but it's around. If you wanted to stock up on this as like a house malt or even something for mixing, I would not blame you. This is very, very, very competent. It's not amazing, but I'm mad for $165. I'm not mad for 27. Very Isla. Very Kalila, if we're going to get exact. But yeah, maritime peat, seashells, salt water, peat fire on the beach. Clean, but, it... but as clean as peated whiskeys get, anyways. You've got your seaweed thing. You've got like your... okay. Now that I said seaweed, I meant to say seafood, but there's some seaweed in here. There's some like little bits of seaweed that float in miso soup. And while we're talking about it, a little bit of miso. Vanilla, black pepper. Kind of a seafood medley thing. Like there's some scallops. Not really any shrimp, but there's some clams maybe, all cooked. That lightly nutty thing, maybe some like pistachios, almonds, black tea. We're back to English breakfast tea. Mashed apple, peaty apple, orange peel, lemon peel. Nice texture. It doesn't have a tremendous mouth length to it, but the finish is... It's fine. Most of what's sticking around is the pepper and the peat. Some of the other stuff I was enjoying doesn't really hold on too long, but at this price, I'm not mad. There's a squirt of water. Let's walk through these one more time. Finish this out. So yeah, these are okay for the price they're asking. Do they scream Japan at me? No, they do not. They scream competent, decent Scotch blend. Okay, back to the basic unpeated one. Kind of loses some steam when you add water to it. Orangey, fruity, Glengoyne stuff. I'm using Glengoyne as a starting point because you could also talk about, like, I don't know, Dalwhinnie or Balblair. It's that kind of Highlandy style. It's fruitied up a little bit with water, but it's lost some of the detail. Okay, on the palate. This did not like the water. It retains the pepper, though. Yeah, so lemony, orangey stuff, bergamot, appley, peary stuff, a little bit of graininess. I have no complaints for this, for the price that Binny's is asking. This is lovely. I do think it was better without water. Water's kind of lost some of the detail and played up the pepper a little bit more than I'd like. It's not out of balance, but I liked it better before. I will give this an 84 minus, and that's that. We'll move on to the peated version. Not much change. If anything, it's brought out the maritime peat a little bit more. I mean, you hand this to me neat and just tell me it's a Kalila, I'm going to believe you. I mean, it smells like it's about 80-90% there. And that's fine, especially for this price point. On the palate, good, solid, basic peaty whiskey. I like this better than a lot of the options out there. I probably would take this over Lafroig 10 or some other things. I mean, it changed from before? Not really. It's still maritime peat, a little seafood, some rocks, and a lot of black pepper. But it's competent, pretty good mouth presence, even if I wish everything else would hang around longer, as long as the peppery stuff does. Just call it an 85. It's an 85 pointer. That's what this is. It is fine. It's very competent. I like it, especially for the price Binny's is asking. So there you go. You can probably still find these, but more importantly, keep an ear to the ground. Keep your eyes out, because when prices really start to drop, it will be fast and it will be fierce, and you will be affected by that. In the lead up to that, you will start to see more stuff like this. Like little deals sneaking through the cracks, just so that the distributors and the retailers can bring in more money, and that can sometimes work out really well for you. So there you go, 84 minus for this basic Shibui 10. It does not like water, but it's fine. 85 for this peated version, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and cheers.